Howdy y'all, Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee, and much like the Japanese gaming corporation Nintendo with their NES classic consoles, we have a resource constraint problem. We had enough resources to build this stable, but we don't have enough resources to finish everything we got going on over here. Like, I've gone through all this trouble to build these massive walls, and all they're doing is uglifying Mumbo's videos. Undesirable. Also, we don't have a place to put the horse when we get over here, so we need resources to store horses in what will hopefully be a restorative renovation and innovation that also, avoids the starvation that we have been experiencing as well, which has led to us running to get a bunch of mushrooms and stuff. What I'm thinking is that in the original castle diagram, there's actually a stable along that corner there, like a carriage house. So we can build the carriage house to start storing our horse in. But before we do that, we should probably go ahead and take some of this wheat and start feeding it to these cattle so that they can reproduce while we are off gathering materials and coming back and building. Second, we should go ahead and actually go back to the main spawn area and grab as much of the, what do you call that stuff? It's like a magical mystery stone. It's just stone. That's right. We need to go back and grab all the stone we can from the big dig. I'm sure there's plenty left because, it was a big build. So we will run back there, grab what we can, run back here. And then I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit today about followership. Now, leadership is something that everybody wants to talk about. Everybody wants to talk about how to be a better leader. But you know what? Sometimes you're not going to be in charge of whatever you're working on, and you have to be able to contribute to the team, even when you're not, necessarily the one calling all the shots. Now, in the case of the vampire who lives in the house that we're building, he's not necessarily a team player. But can you be better than a centuries-old vampire? Perhaps, you should strive for that every day. People are always saying, oh, what would Lance Armstrong do, or whatever. It's like, well, maybe don't try to be the next American Tour de France winner who, later gets in trouble for drugs. Maybe try to be a better you. And one of the ways to be a better you is to look at what other people are failing to do successfully. Not because you're like, oh, look at so-and-so, they're so vain and prideful, but man, if so-and-so was just more patient, then they'd be more successful. You can't change their life, but you can change yours. So maybe look at how you treat people in group scenarios. We'll talk a little bit about that. And explicitly with the goal of contributing without being taken advantage of. I have a strong sense of fairness to quote the movie Inside Out when talking about the concept of anger. But I really feel like there's a lot of great opportunities to get out there and be a piece of something big, a part of something, to build something from the ground up. But there's also a lot of opportunities out there to be taken advantage of. And so we'll run through a few tips to make sure that you're not accidentally, joining a cult or anything like that. Because cults can have really strong feedback loops that seem to indicate that everything is awesome and that you are a amazing contributor to a wonderful team, but sometimes you gotta be a little skeptical too. So we're going to talk about how to not only be a good follower in terms of how you treat the other people on your team, but also how to be a good follower to make sure that your team is not taken advantage of, because without that kind of skeptical or critical eye, there's a lot of opportunities for employers or cult leaders or whoever to take advantage of folks. And we should always be on the lookout to ensure all people are treated well and fairly. So, anyway, let's go ahead and run back to spawn, hopefully grab some stone. Time skip. We have arrived safely in the Yesh stronghold, where all of the materials from the big dig, or the materiel, if you like speaking like a French shampoo developer, is stored. As you can see, my fears that we would be out of stone were generally unwarranted. If there was a judge, like, trying to sign off on that warrant, he would be like, no, I refuse to sign off on that warrant. That warrant is worthless, without foundation. Unlike my castle, we're about to take the stone, we're about to lay a foundation. Woo, that is not how you do that. That was just creating an obligation for somebody else to clean up after me. So, I obviously cleaned that up right away. So, let's talk a little bit more about, followership, as I was saying. Like, when you're on a team, everybody's going to have different reasons for doing what they're doing or wanting to be involved. Now, sometimes that's going to be a school project where you're stuck together. Other times it's going to be like a workplace or a volunteer organization, And it's really important to kind of look at what people's, strengths and weaknesses are and to chip in as much as you can wherever you can. But it's funny looking at how some organizations will try to recruit only one kind of person. And this is where we start getting into, that kind of spectrum of, hey, is this a fun group where everybody's involved and participating in something? Or is this possibly like a cult or a criminal enterprise? Because, not everything where, like, the leader is taking advantage of people is necessarily actually a cult. If there's not the religious element, that's a pretty big red flag sometimes. But, they might just be saying, hey, if I can get all of these people to give me money, then I'll get richer, and I won't have to work as hard. So, that's kind of one of those things, like, if you're working really hard to generate money for someone, but they're also reciprocating by accommodating you, then it's probably fair. If that money is, like, one-directional, then you got to start looking at it a little bit more critically. So, one reason that this is on my mind is there's a new gym in town. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and the newspaper wrote about this. The Nashville Scene in particular. They're our alt-weekly paper, and they are pretty good at a lot of things. So they found that there is a new gym that is charging its members $400 a month and has the word cult in its name, but they spelled it like KVLT. And the founders of the gym are, like, associated with white supremacist groups, and there's a lot of really questionable stuff going on there. So, you gotta, hopefully, the price point there would be something where someone unsuspected might compare that to, like, other gyms and go, hey, maybe there's something weird going on before they get in too deep. But, I mean, just the brazenness of creating this, like, almost paramilitary training group that's all about, like, intensity and purity. But it's like, oh, well, it's a gym, so, that's cool. Like, that's, I don't know, terrifying to me. Where was I? I need to go ahead and get some of these stone bricks down here and start actually building out. Part of this is going to jut forward into the sea. Not actually as far as the sea, but about that far. So, I'm going to grab my map with the layout of this whole thing and figure out exactly how many blocks I need to go. So let's go ahead and time skip through some measurements. Time skip. As you can see here, I've gone ahead and started on this ledge. Now, this will have an actual proper arch that kind of goes into the cliff and supports it out. Kind of think about like a curved quarter circle, which I guess all quarter circles are. And that'll look pretty good when it's done. Also, I think finishing this pillar is going to be absolutely crucial to getting Mumbo more satisfied with the look and appeal of this area here. So we're just going to go and do a quick run around here. So this part of the ledge is going to have 2 small shelters and 2 small turrets. But these parts of the walls here, I don't know what you would call these, battlements, wings, what haves, are all going to reach all the way up. So while we go ahead and lay a whole bunch of blocks down, like a funky beat that is the foundation of any sort of solid rhythm-based music, what we're going to do is, I wanted to say, I've been thinking a lot about this, and like, maybe some of my earlier comments are going to seem negative or paranoid. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from being a part of a community, but like, you always got to look at is, who are you helping? Who is benefiting from what you're doing? And ideally, the answer is as many people as possible, including you. Not just one person at the top, or not just you. If it's just you, maybe you're doing something wrong. But, like, ideally, there should be mutual beneficial elements to any sort of group arrangement or what have you. And also, like, if something just kind of feels off or seems weird, like if somebody really insists that they have all the answers or they have the only answers, that's a really bad sign, you know? And I recommend you find somebody you trust outside of the organization and you get their opinion, you know, maybe somebody you went to school with or somebody who might not be looking at it from the inside because they're going to be able to give a clearer point of view. Now, here's a red flag for you. If somebody says, "Whoa, man, don't talk about the organization outside the organization." Well, why not? Like, now, if you're part of, like, the Central Intelligence Agency or the Federal Bureau of Investigation, you know, or something like that, I understand that there is a need for secrecy in order to achieve national security objectives. That does not necessarily make those organizations a cult. However, like, if you're in a group where they're like, "Hey, man, all strength comes from our community, and our community is funded with your money, and we need your money, and don't question it. And if you talk to someone about it that's outside the community, that's a sign of weakness. Don't be weak and discuss these things. Like, you know, don't have doubts. Like that. You should have a healthy skepticism about all things. That, you know, even if it just means that you are able to appreciate it better because you understand its value. Like, seriously, think about what you're doing. Think about where you're spending your time, your effort, and hopefully do so in a way that helps as many people as possible and doesn't neglect your own personal needs, you know? Like, there's definitely times when individuals might have to go above and beyond and self-sacrifice, but that should be a decision for those individuals to make on a case-by-case basis, and hopefully, you know, as a community, we can find solutions that don't require too much, like, exceptional self-sacrifice. Everybody pitching in should theoretically mean that you won't be asked to do something insane. So, just, I don't know, little red flags here and there to keep an eye out for, you know. Have people you can trust outside the organization. Have people, you know, be somebody who's willing to talk to your friends, even if they're, you know, "Oh man, my friend, I don't know if I want to hang out with them now that they've gotten really into something. You know what, maybe be somebody they can talk to when they have their questions. Just kind of a thing. I don't know. How's this coming? Well, we're actually making some good progress here. This is one of the first circular segments I've really worked on. It's not really a true circle, but the fact that it's a loop is definitely making it build pretty quickly. You know, I'm not spending a bunch of my time on individual pillars. I'm just kind of running around, which I find relaxing, you know? So, anyway, if people claim to have all the answers, they probably don't. Well, we made it almost to the top before running out of blocks, which is kind of a little bit of a shame, but, you know, unfortunately, this is what we've got with us right now. So we're just going to go ahead and light this up. Actually, we'll pop that there. And is there a boat down there that I can go hop on? That would be awesome. Let's go see if we can get a view of this from over here in Mumbo Land. Mumboville. Mumbocean. Mumbocean! Does he call it the Mumbocean? Because if not, he is, like, missing a huge opportunity. It's really big, you see. Okay. How is there no boats anywhere here? Step one. Probably because I didn't put any boats there. Okay. As we come around here, I can say this definitely already looks better. Once we get the support there, that'll look much, much nicer. But the fact that these pillars are not purely square, nor do they... Dang it, pig, I'm trying to talk. Nor do they, like, have the same stained pattern as everything else. I think that's gonna kind of pull it together in interesting ways. Now, if we swing back by Mumbo's base, we'll see all of these ocean lights down below. Massive delights for us to go, whoa, Mumbo. The Mumbocean is sprawling. The Mumbocean is wide. The Mumbosho... it's like Mumbo Show and Mumbo Ocean. Man, he's got this going on a lot of levels. Anyway, everything about Mumbo's Ocean is cool. But looks like our wall now is a little less embarrassing. So this will be pretty cool when we get it all together. Today's episode was mid-roll ad-free, thanks to Eagle Fam, one of our Patreon sponsors. Now, she has paid to replace that mid-roll with a poem at the end of the episode, so here it is. Some of the little boys pretend to be Achilles, dipped upside down by their mothers screaming that they're drowning in unhealthy invincibility, while some of the little girls can't let go of being Elsa, closed off and locked away from the terrors of friendship. But all the children on the schoolyard take turns being Spider-Man, amazing and sobbing over Uncle Ben on the sidewalk, surrounded by the other kids who pretend to capture their moment on invisible phones, not thinking to call for help. Until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.